There are a lot of myths floating around out there that are believed within the prepper community. But I'm here to tell you, don't believe everything you hear. Today we're going to take a look at some of the most common myths out there and give you a different perspective on them. Basically, just some food for thought, folks. So let's take a look in no particular order. Number 1. Fuel is only good for a couple of months after it's been pumped. This is one that comes up a lot. In fact, I recently did a video on storing fuel for long term. Basically, this one is false. Fuel can last for years when properly stored. But it's not really the storage that's the problem so much as it's more often improper use of the fuel, particularly fuel that contains high levels of ethanol. Ethanol attracts moisture, and for that reason, it doesn't work very well in small engines, which is very likely where this misconception comes from. Number 2, railroad ties are safe and last forever. Sorry, but that's not true either. Because of what I've said in other videos about railroad ties, I get scolded in the comments section about this one a lot. But despite that, I'll say it again. Yes, they do break down, they will disintegrate over time, and the chemicals that are in them are toxic, so you should not be using them for building materials. I have a relative who works on a rail gang. All he does all day long is replace disintegrating railroad ties. They are a nightmare to work with. Number 3, you won't be able to find clothing after a long-term grid down. I don't know where this one comes from, but it just doesn't seem plausible. If there is anything that is massively overproduced on a global scale, it is clothing and shoes. If something drastic happened to the entire planet's population, there would be enough clothing lying around in shops, thrift stores, and abandoned homes to last the survivors for centuries. Number 4, you will get sick eating the same foods over and over. There are a lot of people who are under the impression that if you eat the exact same foods over and over again, that your body will start rejecting that food and you'll starve to death. But that simply isn't true. What's rejecting eating the same foods over and over again is your own mind. You're the problem, not your physiology. If you're hungry enough, your body isn't going to reject a meal, speaking from experience. Take the example of any third world country where the vast majority of the population eats literally the same exact foods every single day of their lives. In fact, having such a large variety of food available to the general public instead of just the super wealthy is a fairly new concept, historically speaking. Number 5, overweight people will outlast other people in SHTF. There are a lot of people who believe that a severely overweight person or morbidly obese person will last a long time without food because of their size. They believe that they will just live off of fat reserves. This one couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, there are 2 basic reasons that someone that big eats as much as they do. The first being that it is habitual. They eat compulsively. The second reason is that because of their size, their bodies can't absorb enough protein and nutrients to sustain their size. In other words, they are literally starving. With no access to food, their bodies will cannibalize muscle tissue and other vital materials as quickly as fat tissue. And where do you think that will leave them? Number 6, the bugging in versus bugging out argument. There are real diehards on both sides of the fence on this subject, and both sides are too stubborn to admit that there is no correct answer. They each claim that the other won't make it, and that they're right and everyone else is wrong. But the truth is that you won't know which is correct until you are in the moment. You may have planned to bug in, but then you're forced to move on. Or you may have planned to bug out, but end up getting trapped, or the place you were going to is compromised. Instead of insulting the other guy for having a different plan than you do, worry about yourself and have a backup plan in place. Both answers are correct. Plan for both. Number 7. No one will survive the apocalypse. This is something that I catch preppers saying all the time, which makes me wonder, why are you a prepper? If you are so certain that no one will survive, then what are you preparing for? And are you basing that statement on the Bible? Because I'm pretty sure the Bible makes it clear that there will be survivors. Number 8. Don't take a knife to a gunfight. Listen, we all like our guns, and there's nothing wrong with carrying a firearm. But I'll tell you from experience, never underestimate someone who's skilled with a knife. I have seen where someone who is skilled with a blade can take out an adversary right in the middle of drawing their gun with a deadly strike at as much as 10 paces distance. Granted, most people are not that skilled, but there are some people who are. So don't ever underestimate an opponent. Number 9. You can plug bullet wounds with tampons. Well, technically you can, but I don't advise it. They won't work as well as you think. All a tampon is a glorified cotton ball. Tampons don't actually have coagulants, and they won't clot like you think. So if they are stuffed into an open gaping wound, they will quickly saturate and leak. And number 10. Dead bodies will spread terrible diseases. Now, I'm not completely disputing this one. You shouldn't be exposing yourself to corpses if at all possible. But just be aware that dead bodies don't spread disease more than living ones. Living people who are sick are walking disaster areas in SHTF. Sick living people are more of a health hazard than dead ones. And would I leave you hanging? As usual, I do have one more for you. Call it number 11 if you will. After SHTF, there will be no more governments. After SHTF, there will be no more governments. I think this is one that preppers just really want to believe. And I can't say I blame them every time I look at my taxes or hear about some new foolish law or regulation. But aside from the fact that micro-governments will form up, consider this. The people who stand the absolutely greatest chance of survival are the ones who deserve it the least. Because whatever man-made global disaster that may befall us will very likely be their fault. Senators, governors, congressmen, presidents, dictators, prime ministers, royal families, captains of industry, and banking moguls will all be a mile underground with a century's worth of provisions, while we're stuck hammering out a new world. And after we've done all the hard work and the dust settles, they will reemerge and try to stake their claim. I wonder how well they will be received if that happens. So I hope you enjoyed the video and that you got something out of it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. I would sure appreciate it. Share the video if you can, subscribe if you are new, and check out some of the other videos. And if you have anything you would like to add to the video, please feel free to post it in the comments section down below. And remember to hit the notifications icon so you can be alerted to when new content comes out. Remember also that you can find me on another channel called Coffee Talk. Check it out if you get the chance. And if you wanted to tip the channel, there are links for that down below as well. Every little bit helps, and I sure do appreciate it. So that being said, stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.